Welcome to the Beautiful Me Club, where you can have yourself a ball, where you can find a lot of love. If you're stable, not so stable, whatever you have on your table, we're able to fix it, mend it, talk it out, cry it out and shout. Leave your woes me, girl, I'm trying to make it. I guess I am alright.
Good evening and welcome to the Somerville Line. My name's Crystal Chandler. I was your host last week. This evening on the Somerville Line, we have an amazing interview lined up for you guys. We actually have Junior Rodigan, who's a local selector, artist, and producer right out of our area, right in the Boston area. And he will actually be talking about what he's been doing over the past few decades and what he has coming up in the future. Is a huge, huge, huge New Year's party that's coming up. So stay tuned for that, and he'll actually be interviewed by Joe Viglione, who is a local Somervillian, and he is well known as well. This is a great interview. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Somerville Line.
Thank you. Good for having. Good to be here.
Now, you had to come from the other side of the tunnel. How was traffic tonight?
It was bad when you got to the Braintree Mall.
Really?
Yeah, shopping.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
I've been finding that the lines and lines of traffic on the highways that I haven't seen, and people really frustrated in trying to get around. I try to go slow and just avoid them.
You don't have a choice if you're on the highway and there's nowhere else to go. You just got to sit there and, you know, we got here pretty good. Once you go past the mall, it's clear sailing all the way to Somerville.
You have a wide range of things that you've accomplished over the years. Record label, DJing, Caribbean music. Now, we all love Caribbean music. How did that start? How did you start your record label?
Well, first of all, a lot of people think I'm Jamaican because I've been in the community for so long and involved in so many aspects. But actually, I'm not. I was born in Iran. Moved to England when I was about 12, 13 years old. And then I came here to go to Boston University. And I've been here ever since the early 80s. I was interested in the Jamaican music before I got here. And when I got here, you know, I got more involved with it. I became a DJ by accident. I was going to school and, you know, some of my friends had a party, you know, like a dorm party kind of thing. And whoever was DJing there decided he wants to go have a dance with a young lady. So he was like, play some of these records while I go get a dance. So I ended up playing, but it was his records, you know. So I ended up finishing the night playing. So the next time, the guys asked me to come and, you know, DJ. So, but I was basically like collecting records. Like back in the days, as you remember, you know, if you wanted to hear something that wasn't on the radio a lot, you had to go buy a copy of the record.
And there was some great record stores, Walther Music,
yeah,
and Cheapo Records over in Cambridge.
Yeah, Cheapo, you know, Allen there.
Skippy White down in Washington Street, wonderful place. So, I got a Jimi Hendrix 45.
Right.
Way
so
back in the day.
Being in school and having to buy records, you know, it wasn't feasible money-wise. So I got a job in a record store because I knew the music.
Which
store?
When,
it's in the middle. It's right across the street from Dudley Police Station, courthouse.
Okay.
It's not there anymore. It used to be called Spin City. Then it changed names to Funky Fresh. So some people will know it as Spin City, the real old school people, and then it was Funky Fresh. And now it's no longer there. Right in the median in Dudley Square. So I worked there. Then I worked briefly at Skippy White's, right there in Central Square, not far from here. And then I worked for the Jamaican record store in Mattapan. That's called Taurus Records. And that's the only remaining Caribbean record store. Still, it's on Blue Hill Ave now. It used to be on River Street.
And it still exists?
It still exists. He's been doing it for probably about 40 years now, 50 years, 45 years. He's owned the record store.
Along that line, so when you were in England, reggae music was big in England, Caribbean
Huge.
music.
Yeah.
How old were you when you left England?
I was 18, 19.
So you were exposed to the music, like Chris Blackwell, he had Island Records.
Yeah, I was there. I was in England as a teenager when Bob Marley passed away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but at the time I didn't really know much about the music. Everybody knew who Bob Marley was. and they knew a song here and there, just like everybody else. But then I got more interested into the music because of probably, you know, a lot of because of Bob Marley. And then after he passed away, the rest of the, because reggae music at the time was very revolutionary, very political, you know, very Afrocentric, you know, and just singing about freedom, equality, you know, justice. And being from Iran at that time, my country was going through a revolution of its own. So what he was singing was making sense to me as a teenager, as well as it sounded good, you know.
Now, see, here in America, our first taste of reggae was Millie Small with My Boy Lollipop.
Yeah, that was the
Blackwell.
first big international hit everywhere, yeah. So
and Jimmy Miller, the Rolling Stones producer, worked for Island Records. He was the first A&R man.
Right.
And he told me, he said, Joe, Millie Small would go to the hotel with like tons of 12 suitcases, and the poor guy would have to carry them all in, but she was like this big star.
She was a big star, yeah. A lot of, you know, when I got to England, I wasn't in England for long, but I was there long enough. So when I arrived in England from my country, it was a big shock because, you know, you just come into the West, you know. But that was at the peak of the punk rock movement. So we go walking in the streets with my mom and dad, and we're seeing all these teenagers with spiked mohawks, like going up like about seven inches in the air, purple and green, you know, all look like a peacock, and piercings everywhere. Like people have piercings now, and it's no big deal. But back then, you know, piercings was like, what are you doing, you know?
Right.
Leather jackets, and like it looked very menacing. So, but at the same time, the music that they played, you know, once I got into boarding school and stuff, that was what the kids listened to. We all listened to. And just like how the rock bands of the time would have a power ballad on their album to slow things down.
Yep.
Well, the punk rock bands, most of them, when they wanted that slow down track, they were not going to get lovey-dovey on you. They would cover reggae songs because there was a unity there between the punk rockers and the Rastafarians and the reggae music they made. So they would cover militant reggae songs. So I heard reggae without even knowing what it is before I even knew it was music from Jamaica. I thought it was just, you know, these guys singing, slowing things down. Then I realized that no, they're covering these classics. So, you know, and from there my interest kind of just like, you know, I then looked into the music a lot more. And I'm the kind of person, like everybody, if you get into something and you love it, you don't let go. You just feed yourself more and learn about it.
So you're in England. Did you apply for colleges from England?
Yeah.
And then you got accepted?
My cousins were going to school here,
oh.
MIT, and one of them was going to BU. So if I was going to come across the ocean, I didn't want to go anywhere where I was alone. So it was either Boston University or Florida, University of Florida, or Miami, one of those. So I decided to come here.
Were you always Junior?
No, my name is not Junior Rodigan.
Okay.
In England, at the time when I was growing up, all the way up to now, there's a guy on the radio over there who's now legendary. The Queen gave him an MBE. You know, that's big for a broadcaster that just plays, you know, minor ethnic music to get an MBE from the Queen. His name is David Rodigan. He's very famous in the reggae world, the EDM world, just, you know, urban music. He was on the radio only 2 hours a week, mind you. But first he was on BBC. Then he moved to the major station in London. I used to live in London, so it was called Capital Radio. So for 2 hours on a weekend, late at night on a Saturday, everybody used to listen to him. And then if you're old enough, you go and check it out at the club. But we were kids, so we couldn't go anywhere. So we just, you know, we used to have the little tapes, cassettes.
Yep.
Sit there with the, you know how we used to tape off the radio. You used to just like know the routine, so we avoid the commercials, stop it, when it's coming back on, start it. So it was like an education, listening to him, because he's very good at the way he presents the music. He entertains you and educates you. So he was like my idol, you know, by the time I got here, and many other people in Europe and everything, I could listen to him. He's influenced thousands. I got here and I started spinning, and you know, people couldn't pronounce my name right, the Jamaicans or the American people, like everybody would say it a different way. So one day we were going to play at this club, and I was kind of new to the neighborhood and stuff, but people knew me as, you know, a kid from England who knows the music, like, you know, they were surprised because I'm not Jamaican, so what am I doing with, you know. So a friend of mine who was a better known DJ than I was, well known, in those days, as you know, the DJs used to battle. Like the hip-hop DJs used to do scratch battles and stuff. Well, in the reggae, they called it a clash. And it's like a sub-genre of the reggae club culture where the guys who play the records, they clash. And at that time, around 85, David Rodigan flew to Jamaica and they did a clash on the radio with the biggest radio DJ in Jamaica. So this guy goes from England to Jamaica and they clash. And it was broadcast in London as well as Jamaica. And who couldn't hear it, taped it. So that cassette was going around everywhere, from Florida to Japan to Europe. And everybody had, it was like legendary. You know, it's like, it's like, you know, it's a big historic thing.
Because it worked, it was fun.
Yeah, and it's so funny because the day after Thanksgiving this year, it was the 30th anniversary of that clash. And they had an event in Queens, New York. And I think about 4,000 people showed up, like the two of them.
That's major.
Yeah. So this clash was big, you know, so.
Is it on YouTube now? Does someone upload it? Or?
Somebody, maybe, I don't know. But
I'll have to look for it.
Yeah, so my friend, his name was Reggie, he said, tonight we're going to clash in the afternoon. I said, okay. He said, I'll be Barry G and you'll be David Rodigan. Now David is a guy who, even at the time, he was like losing his hair. So he didn't have much hair on the top. So I made a joke, you know, I'm coming from England at the time, so my humor is different. So I was like, you know, I can't be David Rodigan. David Rodigan is bald-headed. I got hair. So he said, okay, we'll call you Junior Rodigan. So, because that's how they used to do it in the reggae culture. Like, if somebody sounded like someone or, you know, imitated someone, they called you Junior, you know.
Like that.
Viglione, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so after a while, that night he kept, you know, in the battle, he's calling me things and he's saying my name and, you know. So the name stuck after that day. So after that, I started putting it on flyers, and it was easier to say than my real name, so it stuck. So if you knew me before 1986, you know my real name. But if you didn't, you think my name is Junior Rodigan. Yeah.
So when you graduated college, what was the next step for you?
I was working at a record shop when I graduated college. I studied actually broadcast journalism, kind of setup we have here. So I thought I was going to be in TV. And I interned at Channel 7 and everything. When the Patriots went to the first Super Bowl, we were going to go to our 7th soon. But that was when Raymond Berry was the coach and squished the fish and everything. We got killed by the Bears. So I was at Channel 7 then. But I was also working at the record shop. So when the school finished, I just kept working at it was an income, you know. And I got into the music business. That was 86, 87. By 1988, don't even ask me how it happened, but we went and recorded a little demo, me and my friend, just joking around. And he wanted to like go to New York and try to, you know, get some of the Jamaican producers in Brooklyn to hear him and put out a record by him. So we went there, you know, we knew those guys because we used to go to that record shop and buy records, and the guy owned the record shop. So as we're playing our songs, one by him, one by myself. So they're like, well, who's the other one? Who's the other guy? So I'm like, me. They already knew me, but they didn't know that could sound like that. So they're like, you? I was like, yeah. So right there, it was like, we're going to the studio, we're going to record this and release it. So it took a couple of months, you know, because one of them wanted to record us, and then the other one, you know, one of them took us to the studio while the other one was on his way, and he kind of like kidnapped us to get the song before the other one. But back in those days, you did the song for whoever, you know, and whoever put it out first, then, you know, they basically, you know.
So where did you record? What studio?
Record in a very famous Studio in Freeport, Long Island, called HCNF Studio, where I'm sure everybody has heard of Shaggy. Shaggy recorded his first hits there, and then later on when he became a millionaire and selling millions, he still went there to record. Pretty much every reggae artist who's anyone has recorded there, from Shaggy to Shabba Ranks to Bob Marley's Kids, you know. And it's not there anymore because unfortunately the owner and the main engineer, who was like a legendary Jamaican engineer who came to New York and opened the studio, Philip Smart, he passed away last March of 2013, God rest his soul. So it's closed, but it was an amazing experience. So, you know, we went there, and in the course of the next, from the spring of '88 to near the end of '89, made about 11 records. You know, they came out one by one on singles.
Under the name Junior Rodigan?
Yeah. So once your name, like once you make a record and your name is on a record, and you call yourself whatever, you can't change it then. You know?
Sticks.
Yeah. So, you know, so it definitely stuck then. And then it was like amazing because up to then, you know, I was going back to England maybe once every couple of years just for the summer holidays to visit my mother. But by that time, I hadn't been back for a few years. And a friend of mine wrote me from London and said, you know, David Rodigan played your song. I was like, yeah. So that was like an amazing feeling. So I hadn't met him at the time, so it was like a big deal to me.
What do you think David thought of the name?
Well, he said that when he played it on the radio, he said, I'm about to play a record by a fella named Junior Rodigan. I have no, you know, in England, he said, I haven't got the foggiest idea who he is. But, you know, the record's from America, and here it is. And so he played it, you know, so he let the people know he's no relation to him and stuff. So.
Now, were you singing on this?
I was kind of reggae rapping on it.
Reggae rapping?
Yeah. Like,
so was there a band?
No, actually, that by 1988, the way the reggae records were made, much like hip hop, it was drum machines and keyboards. There was you didn't need a band. One musician, who was a good musician actually, and we had a good one in New York. He was basically a bass player. He was specialist bass player, but you just go there in a place maybe about half the size of that control room. There was a studio, and you just stood there with one drum machine, the size of smaller than this table, and a keyboard, everything. 2 hours later, boom, you know.
Now, the very first record, what was it called?
My very first record was a song. There was a song already by Tracy Chapman, and it was called Sorry. And a Jamaican lady sang it over, and it became a huge hit, like very quickly, because people didn't know the version by Tracy Chapman yet. So she took it. It was an album track. So she sang that over. It became a huge hit. What I did with a friend of mine, a female singer, her name is Sonia Elaine. She's actually vice president of Santander Bank now, big time. Yeah. So
in America or over in Spain?
Right here in Boston.
Oh,
yeah,
in Boston, okay.
Yeah. So big up to my friend Sonia. She was singing. I was doing my rapping. So she basically sang over the same song. But I put a story to the song, because the song is about a woman telling her boyfriend that he can't apologize when he does something wrong. So I made a story about, you know, how the incident happened where I couldn't apologize when I did something wrong. So that was our first record.
And what was on the flip side?
Nothing. It was just like an instrumental, a different mix of the same. Because we blended hip hop at the time. It was rare to blend hip hop beats. You know, you gotta understand, '88 hip hop still like an infant baby. Digital reggae is like, you know, two cute babies. So you put them together. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I did, and it was very successful. But
the first,
we didn't have any money, so like that was when I first met my wife.
Ah.
So we were like boyfriend, girlfriend, and I remember we made rubber stamps. You know, like the rubber stamps.
Yeah.
We made rubber stamps for like $18 that just said "Sorry Part 2" and the name of the artist, nothing else. And So we just got blank record labels. There was no printing on them. And it was cheaper like that. So we got the blank ones, made the records, but it said nothing on it. It was like a white label, but they were yellow. And we had like red ink. So we just got these stamps, and me and I was sitting there for like an entire night, and we were just like stamping these 700 copies of these records. So that's something that young people today, you know, people watch the show Empire. Millions of people watch it, but it doesn't go far back. I mean, it is from a movie, but you know, I wish they set Empire back in the days of the 80s maybe, or the 90s when
the
people
70s.
like, well, I mean, it wouldn't make because they rap, the kids rap and so on. So it would have to be at a time when hip hop was big already. So it would have made sense if they made it in the 90s, because, you know, when they say, oh, my album's going to outsell yours, nobody's album outsells nothing. Nobody, you know, you got to be Adele or Beyonce or Rihanna for your stuff to sell. Nobody buys music anymore, really. Everybody just listens to it for free. But it would have been great if they could have set it during those days so that they can show a lot of the little things that, you know, you won't see otherwise. Like, movies are great for that, to just take you back to an era.
Well, the reason I said 70s was the punk rock movement was doing just that, like the bootleg records. Right. So the punk rockers would stamp the records too. So
this is basically 7 years later what the punk rockers did in terms of making everything so independent and DIY. It basically, you know, crossed over into all genres of music. You know, if you had, you work hard, you know, do a little overtime here and there, you know, wash a few dishes in that restaurant, go to the other one, make some burgers there, and make some money. After about, you know, you got yourself a little $800, $1,000. You can put out a record. And if you can sell it enough, you know, you make enough to press more, and, you know, after 800, 900, you know, you cross that break-even point, and technically you're making a profit, you know. And if you keep doing it, you know, like we did it from '89, and, you know, when it was time to repress that song, we had enough money to go actually print some proper-looking labels, so we didn't have to go stamp, you know, because it was real. So, you know, it was like never doing that again. It took the whole night. So, you know, and after that,
it's kind of fun. It's got a charm to it.
Yeah, and we ended up releasing about 40, 45, you know, different 12-inch singles. Never did an album, but actually we did one album that was like a mini album. But
were there other artists besides Junior Rodigan?
What I tried to do, my best, was to record only Boston people, or people close to Boston. In '92, after 3 or 4 years, you know, we had a couple of hit records. One of them is actually coming out on a reissue early 2016. That's called Dancehall 101. That's like a collection of old 90s hits. That's coming out, and that song is on there. It's really the only song from Boston that ever made it onto that level.
Which one? Sorry?
No, it's just another song I did with another lady called Igina, who's actually still in Boston. It was called Get Here, and we made that around the first Gulf War. So it was a song by Olita Adams, Get Here If You Can, singing kind of like, it made sense with the soldiers being over there. And I did the story again, like she would sing it, and I would put my rap in the middle of it. It did very well. So when you sell a few thousand of those records, the money's coming in, so you can invest it more. I took a trip to Jamaica, and I recorded some better-known Jamaican acts at the time. And then we came here. We released a couple of those, and then we couldn't release all of them because an incident happened with the guy who you know, in those days, I'm sure you've seen the master tapes were very big, thick.
2-inch tape?
Yeah, 2-inch tapes. And so you had to store them in room temperature, like perfect conditions. So we left them at the studio with, I'm not going to call the guy's name, but he's disappeared from Boston because one day he had everybody's music there. Like, he was a very good, gifted engineer, but he had money issues, drug issues, I don't know. But
it breaks my heart when a lot of studios have tapes for X amount of years, and if they can't find the artist, they throw them away. And I'm thinking, this is history.
You can't throw those tapes away. Those tapes cost like $250 at the time, and, you know, they could store a lot of music, your master music. You couldn't, you know, to throw those away, it was just like, But it was one thing to throw them away, because you can go look for them, you know, behind the house, down the street, you know, whoever. But one day we went there, and he used to live, you know, up the hill by Mission Hill, behind where the big mosque is now. And he was just gone. Everything was gone. The equipment, the place was just empty. It's like you come in the movies and nothing is there. Maybe like one piece of paper on the floor and another piece over there, like sheet music. Like, where'd they go? You know, because he used to live there with his family, and the neighbor said, oh, they left in the morning. They just put everything back in the bins. But Leo, his name was Leo, I won't say his last name. Very, very gifted engineer. He engineered the first hit record by Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very fascinating.
Yeah, it's called Good Vibrations, which Maurice Starr produced. Before, when Mark was the brother of Danny from the New Kids, he wanted to do a rap record. Boom, here comes Mark. Leo's the engineer. So, and he was sending me the story of how Good Vibrations was made, like when Mark was maybe about 17, 18. He's called Marky Mark on the record.
I remember.
Yeah,
I have
Good Vibrations.
Two important questions for you. Do you have a website?
No, I'm ashamed to say.
But you have Facebook. But
yeah,
do people...
don't need a website anymore. But
well,
for years, there was no social media, and I should have had a website. Yeah.
Well, the two questions I have are, like the dance hall record, will people find it on Discogs or All Music? Or
yeah, it's on Discogs. It's on YouTube. And it's on, actually, it's available on an old compilation. It's called Strictly the Best Volume 8.
So people can just Google Strictly the Best Volume 8.
Yeah, and you can buy it on iTunes. It's called Get Here.
Great.
By Junior Rodigan and Igina. But the rest of our material, most of them are still on vinyl, and we never, after 1997, I stopped producing because it took so much time and energy.
It does.
You know, I stopped performing and making records myself, right? Not long after that, because I wanted to produce.
Now, the last question I have, and we have to wrap up, is you have something coming up soon?
Yeah, I've been a promoter as well as a record shop owner, a record label owner. I had a record shop that closed in 2005 after 13 years. And I do promotions. In 2007, we started a New Year's Eve ball in the Wonderland Ballroom, right by the Wonderland MBTA. So, and this is our 9th year of doing the New Year's Eve ball. So I want everybody to come and join us, because we've been bringing in the new year.
And where is the New Year's Eve ball?
It's at the Wonderland Ballroom. That's right next to the Wonderland Tea Station.
Great place.
Across from the old dog tracks. So people should be able to see some pictures of previous events. And yeah, it's a great time. So if anybody wants a VIP table, they can call me and give out my number.
Can you, if you want to give your number out on TV?
Yeah, 617-435-3402. 617-435-3402. You can just text that number or go on my page on Facebook, Junior Rodigan, JUNIOR-RODIGAN. And we've been doing it for 9 years. So next year, God willing, 10 years, that's a big accomplishment.
617-435-3402. So it's the 10th anniversary.
Next year will be 10. This year is 9.
That's
but what
impressive.
I wanted to tell you before, before we went on air, I play at a club, little pub club, called the Dublin House, right around the corner from the Strand Theatre. And I've been playing there on Thursdays. It's unbelievable.
And what square
19 years.
Is the Strand is in what square in Dorchester?
Upham's Corner.
Upham's Corner,
yeah,
that's
corner
right.
of Columbia Road and Stoughton Street. And 19 years. If you told me at the time when I started you'd be playing 19 years on a Thursday night in the same spot, I would have never believed it. So next year we're going to write to the Guinness Book of World Records. Maybe they can come put us in a book or something.
Why not? That wonderful theater is where Joe Perry of Aerosmith cut his solo video.
Yeah.
So it's a legendary
It's been renovated now. The whole neighborhood is like, if you haven't been there, because this is Somerville, you got, Somerville Theater, and, if people miss that vibe, check out the Strand. It's been remodeled.
Do they have musical
top-class
acts?
facility.
Or do they have
plays,
movies?
Comedy. Minister Farrakhan was there last year, in the spring. Just all kinds. Comedy, plays, opera. Dance recitals from various dance schools all over the region. Yeah, brilliant. Check out the Strand Theater.
It's 8:29, and we go off at 8:30. How does it work here? Oh, we can keep going. I love talking. 36 years ago, I was taping down in Day Street in Somerville. So this is the first time I've been on TV here in 36 years in Somerville.
Okay.
So we talk about history.
First time for you, first time for me.
It's an honor to have you here today because this is...
It's an honor to be here.
It's great music history of Boston that I think public access TV documents. Very important.
Yeah, very. And it's sad because tonight earlier today there was a discussion on Facebook that kind of got gone off on a tangent, and I was talking about the past. And, you know, people in our age group always want to kind of like, you know, hang everything on the... I'm not like that. I love new music. I keep up with it. I can't do without it, you know. I love the old music, but once I've heard something, me personally, once I've heard something twice, I don't want to hear it again. I'll play it for the people, but I don't, in my own time,
for your
I've heard
enjoyment,
it.
right?
Yeah, I just move on.
But you enjoy playing it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But people got to understand there was a time, you know, not just New Edition, not just New Kids, Backstreet Boys. We're talking before that, Donna Summer, you know, Boston, ACD, you know, everybody. You know, like Boston was a musical city, and I don't feel it is anymore. And a lot of that is because the city, all over, not just city of Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, everywhere, they restrict, you know, the time that you need to be able to keep concerts, to go to a club, and, you know, like nurture the music scene. If everybody got to go home at 1, and, you know, this is not the old days when there's no other distractions. We got social media, we got the movie theaters, we got
gaming,
our own HD TVs at home, 55 inches and growing.
People
you know,
are cocooning, they're staying in the house.
Right, so if you're going to have a music scene, you know, I remember when I came here as a kid, you know, the Rathskeller in Kenmore Square, that's a legendary club. Like, you hear about that in Europe. You know, to come there as a kid and go to Kenmore and go down those stairs, I'm like, this is the Rathskeller? Like, this is it? Like, it was like a, you know, I mean, dump, you know, but the music that was playing in there.
Oh, you had Blondie
the
with the Police.
This Police thing, you know. I mean,
the Jam.
Yeah, and so, you know, for those people to have come there and performed in there, of course you have the Paradise Rock Club, House of Blues, except everything's owned by one company now. You got to get your tickets from one company now.
There's another thing, too. You mentioned earlier, you put your name on a record, it stays with you.
Yeah.
The groups today, they're very musical, they're very skilled,
yeah.
but they'll change their names in 6 months. So you cannot get the grasp of the trademark because this one moves off with that one, and the bands just keep evolving.
Well, let me tell you something. If today's artists and musicians, if we, in that era, or even in the 90s, if we had email and attachments, and we could just take the song that we made, 2 hours later go home, upload it, with the press of a button, there's a DJ in Finland, Sweden, Japan, Pakistan, you know, North Pole, with the press of a button, they all get it, download it, and within an hour, they can go play it on their radio show. That was, for me to get my song to my idol, David Rodigan, to play, was a sacrifice because we only made so many records. So I have to mail him 3 or 4 copies because he has to give one to the station, keep one for himself, give one to the program director.
Right.
It took time to get to England, those 4 records. It took like 2.5 weeks just to get there. Unless you want to mail it like, you know, faster, well, then it would cost you $50, $60. So now it's amazing, like a lot of the things have been made easier, but like someone said, back then there was few outlets and thousands of people came to those outlets to find out what's the music. Well, now there are thousands of outlets, but a few people come to each outlet to find out what's the music. So that's why it's, unless you're a major label and you have major money behind you like a superstar, like the Beyoncés, like the Rihannas, the Adeles, it's very hard to get your music known. And to make music now, unless you want to tour and basically give up your life at home and go on the road with your bandmates and so on, you know, you can't make a living doing this.
We only have a couple of minutes left, but I just wanted to point out, in the old days, James Brown was powerful enough to go in and record a song and put it right out.
Yeah.
And John Lennon's Instant Karma, remember that?
Well, you said a funny word, powerful enough. They were powerful because they were talented.
And they had the resources.
Yeah.
But John Lennon wanted a song out immediately, so he rolled out of bed, wrote Instant Karma, went in the studio and recorded it, but it still took him 7 days.
Well, there was actually a reggae band that broke the world record. They actually deliberately said, we're going to do a concert in London. Toots and the Maytals were a very famous country reggae band. They did a concert in London, and within 48 hours, they recorded it, they mixed it, the next day they mastered it, sent it to a pressing plant in London, and it was in the shops. The concert was on Saturday night. It was in the shops by Tuesday morning, and that was a world record. You know, you said vinyl is coming back before we went on the air. It is. Do you know how long it takes to get 1,000 records pressed now?
Nowadays, it's about 3 months.
More than that. The waiting list is probably about 5 months now.
And we should continue this conversation another time because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
But Junior Rodigan, it's been a fascinating half hour with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank
I want
you
to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Wish you all the best, prosperity, health, and peace all over the world, in our cities, everywhere, in our communities for 2016. Thanks for having me.
And I want to thank the wonderful staff here at Somerville Community Access Television. They knew I needed water. They came here. I mean, great staff. This is one of the best access stations in the whole country.
Yeah.
And
it's
so,
not far from here. Somerville to Wonderland Ballroom is not as far as you think, you know. Put in your GPS, about 13, 14 minutes driving. We'll see you there New Year's Eve, 9th annual New Year's Eve ball. And just check me out on Facebook, Junior Rodigan, and just write 9th annual New Year's Eve ball. Buy your tickets on TicketWeb, or I have the VIP tickets.
thank you to everyone here. Thank you to Yvette, Jason, Crystal, and the staff at SCAT. Thank you, Junior Rodigan.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yvette, another great show. Another one. I just want to thank every single person out there. Thank you for watching. We had another great show. Until next time on the Somerville Line, peace, love, and Somerville.
Happy holidays from Theater at First, Somerville's Community Theater.
Here, Membership and Outreach Director at SCAT TV, wishing you all happy holidays this beautiful season. Come on down to SCAT TV and get involved.
Hello everyone, it's Melanie Morris here, host of Bay State Biking News and anchor at SNN. And from my home to yours, I want to wish you the best holiday season ever and Happy New Year.
My name is Henry Parker of Henry Parker Presents, and I want to wish all of you happy holidays. Goodbye.
Hi everybody, we're wishing you a happy and safe holiday season. From all of us at Respond. Wonderland, sleigh bells ring, glorious a beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the church, here to stay is the new bird. Sing a love song, let's
wonderland. Oh, we men build the snowman and pretend that his hearts are brown. We'll say, are you man? We'll say, no man. That you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, as we dream of the tiger, face unafraid, the plans that we made, walking in our winter wonder, walking in a winter wonderland.
We're Massapio, and you're watching
Scat TV Channel 3. Wonderland. Donado bis pacem pacem. Donado bis pacem. 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 Happy holidays. Donado bis pacem pacem. Donado bis pacem. Donado bis pacem pacem. Donado bis pacem. Happy holidays from House of Sama Somerville. Happy holidays from House of Sama Somerville.
It's a holiday, come on, celebrate and rejoice. It's Kwanzaa, spreading unity in our families and communities. It's Kwanzaa, because the legacy makes us so strong. Yeah. So let us come together to celebrate this season of Kwanzaa. It is Kwanzaa, it's time to celebrate and kuzo saba. On this day, we got umoja, kujichakalia, ujima, ujama, nia, kuumba, imani. That's it. That is what we need. We gather around today to reflect upon our past. We've come so far, remembering all of those who came before us on Kwanzaa. From Rosa to Malcolm to Dr. King and Turner. Yeah. From Du Bois to Ashanti Walla, we honor you on Kwanzaa. It is Kwanzaa. It is Kwanzaa. It's time to celebrate. It's time to celebrate. So Saba, on this day, we got umoja, Yeah. On this day, we need unity, self-determination, collective work and economic opportunity. Yeah, purpose is what we need, and creativity. Faith is what we really need. Moja, yeah. Uji chakalia. Ujama. Nia. Uba, yeah. Faith is what we really need.
Greetings and welcome to the Beautiful Me Club, where you can have yourself a ball, where you can find a lot of love. If you're stable, not so stable, whatever you have on your table, we're able to fix it, mend it, talk it out, cry it out, and shout. Leave your woes me, girl, I'm trying to make it. I guess I am alright. Leave your money tight, my man ain't right out in the wind tonight. We came here to party, to smile, to get your me on for a while, to get your groove back, honey child. So get your cute on, let's get wild. And beautiful me baby, that's what I call myself. I leave my attitude on the shelf. It's about me and no one else but beautiful you baby. I'm talking dollars and not cents. It's not arrogance but confidence. So pick your head up and come on in. There's no drama, I'm saying, and no haters up in this spot. You treat it like the queen that you are. Here you walk the red carpet like a superstar. And beautiful you baby, and beautiful me too. I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna party like tonight.